Conspiracy theories, eh? Wait till you get a load of this.
Hello, and welcome to Cracked Sisters Conspiracies. We're a podcast that covers conspiracy theories, mysteries, and all over spooky shit. My name's Jackie.
And I'm Cassandra.
And we are said sisters.
You just launched right into it.
I know.
It's like so good. Yeah, it's because I was blindsided. I didn't know what was happening. So I didn't have a chance to fuck it up by laughing. Perfect. So you know what? The sneak attack, that
way to
worked.
go.
Well, okay, I'm sitting up far too high. There. To come down to your level. Happy Friday. It's Friday.
It is a Friday.
It is one of the last Fridays we will have together.
We still have next week. I don't actually know if we'll be able to do in person next week because I don't know what my schedule is.
Well, we won't be able to record next Friday because next Friday is trunk or treat.
Oh, that's right. I'll be there for
School.
that.
But we might have to...
Maybe on Saturday. I'll be here on Saturday.
But yeah, because you're going to be departing soon because you'll go up and then come down and then leave.
Well, no.
Right?
I go up, I come down, I move, I come down, I'm here for a week, and then I leave.
I mean, but this is all going to happen in the next two and a half weeks. Yeah.
But when I'm staying with mom and dad, I can come over here.
Well, that's true because you are literally within walking distance at that point. It's kind of a shitty walk up and down the hill, but I've done it.
Maybe I'll steal mom's e-bike.
There you go. So you leave the 9th, right? So your last day at work is the 8th.
Uh-huh.
You're leaving the 9th. We need to figure out your send-off. And then I'm going to be all depressed. And then the next day we're going to Legoland. So.
I didn't realize it was so close.
Neither did I. I was like, oh, shit. So that'll be an experience.
Oh, no.
Yes. Oh, but there's a lot to do in that short amount of time remaining.
There is. We got our first non-family Patreon donator.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, Johnny.
So we will be adamant about actually like posting on there. We have been working on it since Jackie got here today.
We didn't expect anyone to get this far, so we had no videos posted.
Not really.
So I've been working in overdrive for the past 20 hours, trying to get the videos, get them edited, because I've never done videos before, get them uploaded. They're kind of big, so we're having issues with Patreon. Worst case scenario, you might, for any, Johnny, or for any future followers on our Patreon, you might just have access to a link, and then the link will be able to let you watch the videos, but only Patreon donators will have access to that.
But we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And then we also posted our first TikTok video.
Yeah.
It's only been 10 minutes. We've already had over 200 views, 30 likes, a comment. A couple people have saved it.
We are famous.
We're gonna go viral, as they say. So yeah, follow us on TikTok and you'll get some less exclusive stuff than you would on the Patreon, but you'll get some funny snippets, if nothing else.
Yeah. And then also we have to hash out the details, but just throwing it out there. Mm-hmm. We're thinking of doing something to kind of highlight small businesses. We want to, you reach out to us and let us know who you are, what your business is, what you sell or what you do. And then we'll have a designated time or space that we shout out your business. If you want to send us some stuff, that's cool.
Our platform isn't huge, but it's growing. Yeah. So if you have an interest in getting a call out from us, we would be more than happy to provide said platform.
We'll have more information when we figure our lives out.
We're developing the idea, but I like it
too.
So what's the first topic we will be recording today?
So today we're going to talk about the death of Anne Heche.
Anne Heche. So I have mixed feelings about her, but when I think of her, I think of 6 Days, 7 Nights.
That's the only thing I think of her from.
Because we watched that movie religiously
7,800 times.
Children. You're one of those guys, right? One of those guys who goes into the forest with a toothpick and a pocket knife and builds you a shopping mall.
Yes. My favorite quote is when they're in the plane, they're in the thunderstorm, and she's high as shit.
Oh, she is all pilled out.
Attention, K-MART Shoppers. The snow shovels were on sale for $7.99, and he's like trying not to crash a plane. That's my favorite part of the whole movie.
Is not critically acclaimed by
It's not,
any
but
means.
it is by me.
It is a cult classic, especially in the Louis
In our family,
household. It's like an equivalent to Lake Placid.
Oh God.
It is held in such high regard. And it's one of those you have to watch it every 5 to 10 years just to stay refreshed. I'm fairly certain I've seen it in the last 5 years.
I might not have. I might have to get on that.
Yeah, but it's good stuff. It gives me fond memories of our childhood.
Same.
Okay, so we're going to talk about her dying. So that's not so pleasant, but fairly recent news story.
It was. She died in 2023.
Okay, so let's hear about it.
Okay, so we'll start with her early years. She was born Anne Celeste Heche on May 25th, 1969 in Aurora, Ohio.
Whoa.
Just another Ohio thing. She was the daughter of Donald and Nancy Heche, and she was the youngest of 5 children. Her parents were fundamentalist Christians, and therefore Anne grew up in a deeply religious household.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Her dad was quick to change, and he was constantly changing his profession, trying to get in on various get-rich-quick schemes.
So he was a hustler.
Yeah, but not very good, apparently.
They usually aren't. Let's be real.
He changed his religious affiliations just as often as his career, and therefore so does his family. So she grew up in a very kind of confusing...
It seems unstable.
An unstable household. That's a good way to put it. All of these different jobs led to the family being moved around quite a bit, as well as financial problems, resulting in one home being foreclosed on and then being evicted from a second rental property.
As a parent, someone who runs a household, I would rather hate my life and suffer through a job just to make sure that I could provide versus just going, with the wind.
I know.
I don't understand how people do that. I mean, I get soul crushing jobs and wanting to escape.
Yeah, maybe it's a mixture of being selfish, wanting something different for yourself, which is fine, but maybe not making sure it's as stable because you want to kind of get in there and just get going with it.
That crushing weight of responsibility holds me back.
5 kids, so that's
so
a lot.
much.
Well, we get into it,
Okay. Okay.
It turns out to be less. Anne's mother, Nancy, had enough and divorced Donald, telling him that he needed to leave. She would somehow become financially responsible for herself and her 5 children.
Ooh, good luck.
Anne's first professional acting job was at a dinner theater in Swanton, New Jersey, earning $100 a week, which is roughly like $350 a week now, I guess. While Nancy was busy providing for her family and was working as an actress, Donald moved to New York City. His children had visited him occasionally and noticed that he was rapidly declining in health. He told everyone he had cancer, but he had actually developed late-stage AIDS.
Oh, I was going to say drugs. Oh.
He was a closeted gay man.
Ah, there it is.
But became more open once Nancy divorced him and he moved to New York City. Because he's closeted, he didn't want everyone to know, so he just told everyone he had good old cancer.
You know what? Given his other personality traits, that makes sense
A little bit.
Yeah. Just because I don't know who I am, I don't have a strong sense of identity, so I'm going to bounce around in all aspects of life.
There you go.
Poor guy.
He died of AIDS related complications on March 3rd, 1983, at the age of 45.
Oh, sorry.
No one in the family had known about his sexuality or that he had an AIDS diagnosis or even what AIDS was until they first learned about it in a New York Times article.
That's a shitty way to find out.
Well, they didn't find out he had AIDS. They found out what AIDS was and then was able to go, those symptoms sound awfully familiar.
And they just connected the dots.
I know. At first, when I read it, I thought the New York Times article outed him.
Yeah.
But no, that's not the case. In a 1998 interview, Anne reflected that her father being closeted ultimately, quote, destroyed his happiness and our family, but it did teach me to tell the truth. Nothing else is worth anything, end quote. 3 months after Donald's death, Anne's 18-year-old brother Nathan died in a car crash when his vehicle missed a turn and collided into a tree. Anne and her mother, Nancy, and her older sister, Abigail, then all moved together into a 1-bedroom apartment.
Oh, God.
Her eldest sister, Susan, died in 2006 from a brain tumor, and her other sister, named Cynthia, died when she was only 2 months old from a heart defect.
God, they really culled the
so
herd.
You 5, you're down to 2.
Jeez. Okay, so a lot of trauma to unpack there.
Yes, and this is all relatively while she's young.
I'm already putting pieces into context, and this is making way more sense.
Starts to make even more, because I didn't know a whole lot about her. I remembered seeing the video that's floating around, but I had no context to put it in, but it makes a lot more sense after doing these notes. So now we'll talk about her stardom.
Yeah.
She attended the progressive Francis W. Parker School, where she continued to be active in theater, performing in numerous plays. When she was 16, a talent scout attended a school play that she was in and offered her an audition for the daytime soap opera As the World Turns.
Is that still on?
I have never heard of it, so I don't know.
I'm fairly certain all of those soap
I don't think they ever turn off.
No, they just live in perpetuity for forever.
Anne flew to New York and auditioned and was officially offered the role. Unfortunately, she had to turn down the offer because that would have meant her and her family would have to move to New York, and her mother would have to leave her new job at a brokerage firm.
Oh.
Anne was reportedly a little bitter.
Okay, I can understand that.
In 1987, at the end of her senior year, Anne was offered another audition, this time for a soap opera, Another World. She was offered a role after 2 auditions, and she accepted in spite of her mother's opposition. She moved to New York City by herself and started the job just days after her high school graduation. In a later interview, she stated, "I did my time with my mom in a 1-bedroom, skaky apartment, and I was done."
I can understand that. That's also so scary.
But she's also like 18. This was one day after her high school graduation.
You're still a child. Your brain is not fully developed. But then, like, I think about her mother who was on her own from a young age when our grandparents were like, okay, you can come with us. You can stay behind and make it. So I don't know that at that age, I could have figured life out. I mean, I moved out when I was...
You were young.
I was 19 or 20.
I didn't move out until I was like 23.
But I just went to the safety net of the older man that I
your sugar daddy.
My esque. Sugar daddy-esque, the elusive older man.
There you go. Anne stayed working for Another World for 4 years and received several awards, including a Daytime Emmy Award in 1991 for Outstanding Younger Actress in a Drama Series. She wanted something different. She did not want to continue working on soap operas. She was then offered a small supporting role in the film Oh Pioneers, featuring Jessica Lange.
I know who Jessica Lange is. She's in American Horror Story.
I've never heard of the movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and I don't know the movie, no.
The movie aired in February of 1992, and it was her first movie. After that, she went on to play smaller or supporting roles in various movies, and her first lead role was in Donald Cammell's erotic thriller, Wild Side, in 1995.
Never heard of it.
She worked alongside Christopher Walken and Joan Chen. The film was best remembered for the lesbian sex scene between Anne and Joan Chen.
I have a feeling there was some bit of her own life going into that.
Possibly. Her career breakthrough has been attributed to the crime drama Donnie Brasco. Where she played the wife of FBI undercover agent Johnny Depp.
Yes.
Never heard of it, never seen it.
It's a good movie. You should watch it. I think we have it.
Okay. From there, she was in films such as Volcano, Wag the Dog, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and my go-to absolute favorite, 6 Days, 7 Nights, starring her and Harrison Ford.
I don't remember her being in I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Do I? But I haven't seen it in a very long time.
I do remember Volcano, though, because Volcano and Dante's Peak both came out at the same time. Those were both 2 movies that we watched a lot in the household.
I've never seen Volcano. I do like Dante's Peak.
Oh, yeah. I like that one. More so.
Well, yeah, me too, because I've never seen the other one. Around the time of landing 6 Days, 7 Nights in 1998, she and her then girlfriend, Ellen DeGeneres, went public with their relationship.
I remember that.
She was later quoted as saying, quote, "People said you're not going to get a job because you're gay." She commented, "How would that destroy my career? I still can't wrap my head around it," end quote.
Because people are terrible.
She very quickly finds that out. From there, she was in movies such as Return to Paradise with Vince Vaughn, Gus Van Sant's Psycho, and The Third Miracle.
Don't know that last one.
Me neither. After all of those movies, she went on behind the camera and directed short films made for TV movies and a documentary. She bounced back and forth between smaller roles and bigger roles, theater, television, and independent films.
She kind of just did it all.
She did, yeah. Nothing like
monumental,
substantial,
yeah.
but she was still
actively.
She was, and she got good reviews on everything she did. She was just never like an A-lister, I don't think, technically.
She probably had like a comfortable existence in Hollywood, so good for her.
In 2001, Anne published a memoir titled Call Me Crazy, which discussed her family and career background, as well as disclosed her history of mental illness and the alleged childhood sexual abuse by her father.
Oh.
Which is another makes sense.
Oh, okay.
In September of 2022, the second memoir, now called Call Me Anne, was submitted in manuscript form shortly before her death and was announced for a January 2023 publication. I forgot to look to see if it was actually released.
I'm like, I wonder what more had happened between memoir number 1 and memoir number 2.
Maybe her craziness. I don't know. In 2017, she hosted a weekly radio show on Sirius XM with Jason Ellis entitled Love and Heche. And in 2020, she and Heather Duffy Boslin launched a podcast titled Better Together. All right, so now we're going to talk about her and her mama drama.
So her and her mother.
Yes.
Okay.
Anne and her mother Nancy did not have the best relationship. A rift had formed between the two of them when Anne came out as gay.
Oh.
And that rift only intensified when she alleged sexual abuse from her father in her memoir.
I mean, from the mother's perspective, I can understand.
And the mother denies all allegations made by Anne.
It's hard to believe that that's not something she wasn't aware of, or
if it happened,
potentially complicit in if it happened.
Yes, of course.
So that could be the other thing. Okay.
In her 2001 memoir, Anne wrote that her mother was in denial about the alleged sexual abuse. For example, when she had contracted genital herpes as an infant, her mother insisted that it was a diaper rash and refused to take her to a doctor. Anne also wrote that her father repeatedly raped her from the time she was an infant until she was 12. When she was asked, but why would a gay man rape a girl, in a 2001 interview with The Advocate, she replied, I don't think he was just a gay man. I think he was a sexual deviant. My belief was that my father was gay and he had to cover that up. I think he was sexually abusive. And the more he couldn't be who he was, the more that it came out of him in the ways that it did.
If that's true,
that would make
awful.
sense. I know, but it's pretty terrible.
But I know there is a question of her mental health and stability kind of looming.
So Anne's mother and her sister Abigail, the only one that's left, both denied Anne's allegations. And her sister explained that she believed Anne believed what she was saying.
Sure.
But that in the past, Anne had admitted to doubts on the accuracy of her exact memories.
Mm.
So I think the sister kind of knew
something's
different.
Right.
I agree that you believe it. I don't believe it, but
that may be your truth in your mind, but maybe not reality.
Exactly. So now we're going to dive into her dating life, which is so weird to me. You're a little bit famous and then like just everyone you've ever dated is just out there for public knowledge. It was just very strange for me to kind of...
I have no desire to ever be a celebrity.
No, but I mean, we go on here and we talk about our kind of like past, but if we have it easily accessible on Google.
No, I don't want that. Yeah. So don't be talking shit about our shit. No, I mean, I'm also withholding. It's like we give a glimpse, but it's not like our entire lives are out there for people to scrutinize.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about that today, which is weird because I was scrolling through news articles and it was like Taylor Swift seen in a Connecticut restaurant. And so there was just this line of people because they heard that she might be eating out somewhere. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that sounds like a miserable existence. Really you can't even go out to dinner. You can't just slum it out in the world because people are always going to be on you. And that sounds like a nightmare.
Sounds exhausting. So now we're going to,
talk about her.
So in the mid 1900s and the mid 1900s, in the mid 1990s.
That's like Gracie saying, you're old. You're born in the 1900s. Savage little brat.
Oh, Anne was in a dating relationship with Lindsay Buckingham, which is a Fleetwood Mac of Fleetwood Mac. And he's a dude. I thought that was a female.
No. Okay.
And he's looked old. Obviously, probably in the 90s, he was younger, but
he is older. Yeah. So
yeah, very excited.
I love Fleetwood Mac. Mom and dad love Fleetwood Mac. That's the reason I love Fleetwood Mac. But yeah, there's so much drama in that band. Amazing.
Well, wasn't she married to one, but then in a relationship with another?
There was a lot of partner swapping and drama. But oh my God, Stevie Nicks and what's his face? Fireworks. It's great. Anywho, continue.
So they dated for about 1 year. She then dated Steve Martin for about 2 years after they met on the set of A Simple Twist of Fate, which I thought was an interesting pair.
Yes.
I like him a lot, but he's always been old. No matter what I see
He has
him
never
in,
looked
he
young.
is always old.
Like, I was thinking of him in Father of the Bride, but he looked aged. He had white hair then. Like, I don't think I've ever seen him with.
I mean, the earliest I probably seen him was Bringing Down the House with him and Queen Latifah,
God.
but he has gray hair.
He
He
always
looks exactly the same. Cheaper by the dozen, gray hair.
I did he have a stint on SNL? Was he one of
I
those?
never watched SNL.
Because I'm sure in the 70s, did he have normal colored hair back then too? I think he was on SNL, but
Maybe he's just like me and it's been grayed since he was 16.
maybe. So Steve Martin, Fleetwood Mac's, Lindsey Buckingham. Okay, what else?
Anne and Ellen then started dating in 1997, and they were described as the world's first gay super couple. They split in August of 2000, so only like 2 years. And Anne described the end of their relationship as not on good terms. Anne had left DeGeneres for Coleman Coley LaFoon, a cameraman whom she had met and hired for him to work as a camera crew on a television documentary titled Ellen DeGeneres, American Summer, which she was directing.
Got it.
So she's making a documentary for her girlfriend and she cheats on her with the cameraman.
Oh, so when she was saying that they ended it on bad terms, I wasn't thinking because of any like extra marital things, or not that they were married, but
Infidelity or something.
That's the word I was thinking of. But I was like, oh, well, you've heard the reports about Ellen over the last couple of years. Now, she seems to be an unfavorable person.
Yeah.
So that was my initial thought, but I was wrong. I mean, she also probably could have been a piece of shit too, but
I agree. I don't like Ellen DeGeneres. I think
I
she's
like her as
rude.
Dory, and that's about it.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
You're good in blue fish form.
During the relationship with Ellen, she found it difficult. She was told not to attend the film Volcano's premiere in 1997 with Ellen, but they did anyway. They were both escorted out before the film ended, and she was literally in the movie.
Why were they escorted out?
Because they didn't want a gay couple showing up together at the premiere. They said, don't do it. And they said, fuck you, what you gonna do?
So dense sometimes, I swear.
And then they kicked them out. She was also told not to go public with being gay if she wanted to keep the role in 6 Days, 7 Nights, but she still landed it regardless.
Okay, yeah, because fuck that.
I know.
Like, don't.
But it was like a different.
It was a different time. Not that that excuses.
No,
it.
not at all. But I remember Ellen, whatever TV show she was on, that was the first time.
It was called Ellen, I think, is what it was.
No, she was on like
her
a sitcom. Yeah. And she either kissed a girl or she was the first gay TV character.
It became known that she was gay. It was a big thing.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was like a TV guide, like Ellen comes out.
Yeah. So it was anything like that was a big deal.
It was very taboo.
And she had never been in a gay relationship. So this was all new to her. She'd only dated men.
She seems to, just play for both teams.
Yeah.
But okay.
After their split, Anne said she was blacklisted from Ellen's talk show because by now she had the talk show of Ellen. And she attributed that to her difficulty with finding work. On September 1st, 2001, she and Coley got married. They had a son, Homer Heche LaFoon, which is such an unfortunate name.
Yes, I remember reading about it in the news reports and I was like, excuse me, what? Yeah, poor child. Does he go by like Homie or something else?
I hope. Or just change his name.
What's his middle name? Chase?
No, it's Heche.
Heche. Oh,
so it's like her last name.
For some
Chase
reason
would have been normal.
Heche. I heard Chase. God, I was looking for something. Okay.
So he was born in March of 2002.
Oh,
God,
so
numbers are really
so
young.
Oh, poor kid.
Yeah. Coley filed for divorce in February 2007 after 5.5 years of marriage. In a separate court filing, he said that Heche exhibited bizarre and delusional behavior for which she refused to seek professional help. And then the divorce was finalized in March of 2009.
That's going to be so hard being tethered to someone that has mental health issues.
That's quite often. Especially someone that is resistant to medication or something that could make it manageable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I often find myself wondering, am I going to be that person?
I'm going to slap the shit out of you if you are.
I'm like, please intervene. If
I'm
I
gonna
go
force
off
feed
the
you
deep
some meds,
end.
man.
Yes. I'm like, I feel like there's a tinge of it.
We don't have any like extreme mental illness
Not
in our family.
extreme, but one of my irrational fears, because I am full of them, is that I will snowball. I will let my anxiety, depression, whatever get the best of me. And then I'm just going to morph into this awful human being. Please don't let that happen.
I will not.
Okay.
After her divorce, Anne started dating Men in Trees co-star James Tupper. She and James had a son, Atlas Heche Tupper. Atlas is a better name.
That is more
better than
acceptable.
fucking Homer.
Poor guy.
In March of 2009.
She seems to like Greek.
Say that those are very Greek names. The two then separated in January of 2018. Anne and former Hung co-star Thomas Jane announced that they were in a relationship in 2019.
Oh.
They were together into 2020, but had separated by the time of her death in 2022.
I like that guy.
He was cool. I've only watched like 2 episodes of that show.
I never watched Hung, but he was in The Punisher. That was the first time I saw him.
Like him, yeah.
And I was like, okay, hello.
He's kind of cute.
Yeah.
And then I didn't really know where to put this, so this is obviously not a relationship, but I feel like it's somewhat important to the story.
Notable, okay.
In January of 2018, during an interview on a podcast, allegedly, with Theo Vaughn and Matthew Cole Weiss or Weiss.
And Theo Vaughn.
I think he's hilarious.
I think he for sure is on the spectrum, and he might be.
He also is just like Southern.
And you know what? That might be what it is.
Like he sounds like, I don't know, but he sounds like he's from Florida. No
He
offense to
does.
Florida people, but I hate Florida.
I listened to his podcast when I was driving down to San Diego for my last work trip. He's the most quotable thing on the
He
planet.
is. He's very entertaining to listen to. I will give him that.
And
He seems very sweet.
He does, but I feel so dumb listening to him because I feel like I'm just being brought down to another level. But I stan him so much.
Okay, so she was on his podcast.
I didn't hear that one.
That's okay. Anne alleged that Harvey Weinstein had exposed himself to her and demanded oral sex, claiming to have been fired from an unspecified Miramax film in retaliation after she refused his advances.
I believe her, given everything that's come about.
She said that there were many other incidents of sexual harassment that took place during her career and stated that her survival of childhood sexual abuse had given her the strength to stand up to unwanted advances, such as those made by Weinstein.
Okay.
And then obviously a spokesperson from Weinstein said that he had been friendly with her, but denied all of her allegations.
Okay. But, you know, given what we know now,
right.
Fuck that guy.
So now we're gonna dive into her brain, her mental health deterioration, as I would word it. As previously mentioned, Anne struggled with mental health issues throughout most of her adult life. She said that she was, quote, insane for the first 31 years of her life, end quote.
Doesn't feel that way.
And stated that the sexual abuse from her dad attributed to some of the issues, and she started to see a therapist during her time on Another World. So pretty early into her career. And soon began Reichian body psychotherapy and wrote that the release of body memories through this technique helped her recover memories of her alleged sexual abuse and confront the emotions aftermath of childhood trauma.
Is that the same thing as the whole concept of releasing trauma from your body? So like, I don't know if you've ever heard about it, but there are some super intense, deep stretches that you're supposed to be able to do that might elicit an overwhelming feeling of emotion where you just start crying or whatever, and because it's a release of trauma from your body.
I've never heard of that.
Oh, you're stretching out your hips and you're having this moment because you're releasing trauma that's built up in the body in certain spots. I don't know how I feel about it. I have done some deep stretching that feels amazing though.
I am not a spiritually holistic person.
I'm not a spiritual person at all.
Me neither. But, you know, I understand that sometimes this shit can work for medical conditions where you try medication and it doesn't work. So you go the more holistic route and something works. I get that. I feel like people go way too fucking far with it. I'm not on board for it, but you do you. Apparently this worked for her. But there is a correlation with these types of, not specifically this Reiki and body psychotherapy, but these kind of more holistic therapies in general, where they bring up these repressed memories. And sometimes it's been proven that they've been planted or they are complete false memories, and you can ruin someone's life or multiple lives over this type of stuff. So, I mean, take everything with obviously a grain of salt.
Super skeptical.
I feel like, to me, in my research, these deep recovered trauma memories aren't always what they seem.
That mind-body connection isn't as what it's made out to be. Interesting.
Okay, so that was the therapy that she chose to do.
Instead of psychotherapy.
Correct. And then she said this process later continued through guided LSD therapy, which she claimed had led to a full recovery of childhood memories.
Drugs.
I mean, yeah.
Drugs.
LSD, man, if you're gonna
Open the mind.
that will open your mind, but I don't know what's gonna come out.
I don't know, but yeah, I don't know that I would trust what came out of that
That's what I'm
either.
saying, but I feel like that was a start to the end.
Got it.
So around the time she finished Donnie Brasco, she said that she began hearing God speaking directly to her.
Oh,
In this state, it
she's so
goes
special.
downhill rapidly.
Okay.
In this state, she was told that she had an inner being called Celestia,
Ooh.
who was the reincarnation of God, and that the second coming of Jesus. She believed that it was her mission to enlighten humanity and that she had achieved fame in order to fulfill this role. Her initial experience of hearing and being directed by God lasted for 12 days, and her spiritual experience and alter ego as Celestia continued another 4 years.
I wonder what my internal spiritual being would be. I know
Her middle name is Celeste. I think she's just pulling from that.
she is. And also, but I'm thinking about this a little bit more. My internal being would not be one of good.
Be an anxiety-ridden troll.
I would bring darkness upon the world. That would be my alternate whoever's mission in life. So
There you go. So during this time, Anne claimed to have had experiences with glossolalia, which is speaking in tongues.
I want to see how it's glossal. Oh, yep. Okay. Cool. Cool.
Automatic writing and drawing, clairvoyance, the ability to cyclically heal others, and having stigmata, which is bodily wounds that Jesus had appear on her feet. So it's usually
Like the bleeding of the
bleeding of the
palms.
hands. Yeah, the fucking shit on your head. She later admitted to having created a fantasy world called the Fourth Dimension and her alter ego Celestia to make herself feel safe.
Psychotic break, 100%.
100%. She has another one. So on August 19th, 2000, immediately after her breakup from Ellen, Anne suffered what some would call a psychotic break.
Yes, because there's emotional trauma and she doesn't know how to process it. Okay, broken brain. Got it.
So she took to the I-5. She went from LA to the San Joaquin Valley. And
Ma'am, you're in California. We don't say the I-5. She took the 5.
well, it's not everyone's from California.
but we are. She took the 5.
No, because I got verbally beat up a lot in Ohio. And so my words,
The 101, the 405, the 5.
I know it is the 5, but
I don't care what the rest of the world or the rest of the country says. I know everyone else says Interstate 5, I-5.
so they say highway, not freeway.
remember where you're from. Is what I'm saying.
And see, this is the abuse I got just on the other shoulder. I got California here and fucking Ohio here. Okay, so she took the 5
There you go.
from LA to the San Joaquin Valley and exited where she was told to go and landed in Cantua Creek, which was a rural.
rural.
I can't say that word. She went to that area in Fresno County, California.
Okay.
She then abandoned her vehicle and walked 1.5 miles in just a bra and shorts
She is in the middle of nowhere.
during a very hot day without any water. She started to feel dehydrated after her walk and knocked on a nearby door asking for help.
Nope. We've already discussed this. I answered the door for no one.
So the homeowner actually recognized her from 6 Days, 7 Nights and went,
Okay.
come on. So Anne was given water and she asked to take a shower, and the homeowner was like, sure.
Because that's a totally normal request.
After her shower, Anne comes out into the living room wearing the homeowner's slippers
No.
and says, we should watch a movie. The homeowner's like, I'm in danger.
Yes.
And called the sheriff.
Okay, they do have some sense. I mean, they had a lapse of judgment letting her in and using the shower in the first place.
If Harrison Ford showed up to my house, I'd let him in.
I would be concerned at his age. I'm like, okay, we need to.
Back in 2000,
Oh.
I would have let him in.
I would definitely let Han Solo into my house.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So she called the sheriff's office, and once deputies arrived, Anne admitted to having taken ecstasy.
Ooh.
And she said that she was God and that she would take everyone back to heaven in a spaceship.
God, she thinks highly of herself.
Really does. Deputies took her to University Medical Center, where she was admitted to the psych unit, but only stayed for a couple hours because it's not illegal to be crazy.
I feel bad for laughing, knowing her fate, but also not to make light of mental issues and all of that, but gotta giggle a bit.
A little bit. So she stated she recovered from her mental health concerns following the incident and that she had put her alter ego, Celestia, behind her.
pushed
after being in the psych unit for 2-3 hours.
I feel like Celestia might make a reappearance later.
she's dead.
No, like later in the.
Oh, no, because now we're going to talk about her car crash.
Oh, okay. So never mind. So Celestia is really gone for good.
Unless she is in the outer space
In the
with the
ether.
god and the aliens.
Ugh.
On August 5th, 2022, Anne was involved in a sequence of 3 car crashes
Oh.
in the Mar Vista neighborhood of LA.
Mhm.
The final collision being the most serious, inflicting critical injuries on Anne and destroying a house.
Yes, she like drove through someone's house.
Yes,
That's a total fear of mine, by the way.
it happens often.
I am so scared that that's going to happen. That was the biggest fear that I had living on a street corner in the apartment that we lived at.
Yes,
it was like a
that's
normal.
most likely to happen.
I was like, if that's going to happen, it's going to take out
or
our
right at the
bedroom.
end of a stop sign, like where someone should
Yeah.
stop. I would never live there.
I feel a little
You're
less
on a
like,
curb, you're fine.
but the way that our house is positioned, because it's fucking backwards, like
They would hit your garage.
oh, they would. Okay, that's
Same.
true. The garage would absorb the impact, and it was only if they got through that would they kill me.
Exactly.
Okay, I feel better now. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the first crash was in Anne's Mini Clubman, which I looked up. It's a Mini Cooper, but made by BMW.
Yes.
So it's like a fancy Mini Cooper.
So I had a boyfriend in high school, fun fact, whose dream car was a Mini Cooper, and it gave me the ick.
That's
so bad.
Unfortunate.
Ugh.
Get a man that doesn't fit in a Mini Cooper.
So he actually ended up marrying someone
The
else
guy.
that we went to high school with. No, shocker. And so the person that he married, her half sister, is actually someone that mom used to work with at Motion Picture.
Wow.
It was very strange.
Small world.
It was, and we were friends before that happened, but
What does that make you? Eskimo sisters? No, that's Eskimo brothers.
there was no Eskimoing
Oh.
in that relationship.
Never.
That it was very innocent.
So she had this car.
Oh yeah, back to the Mini Cooper.
So her crash, it was her car versus an apartment garage that was captured on video and later given to TMZ.
So she has a demonstrated pattern of behavior with car accidents and running into things.
Well, this is all in one day. We're only at number 1.
it all happened the same day.
Yeah.
I missed that. Oh,
So Anne's side mirror was damaged, and a man was heard shouting in the video, "Get out of the car!" before the vehicle reversed and drove the fuck out of there. The footage positively showed Anne as the driver. She then went from there to crash number 2.
she should have tinted her windows.
She should have. Where she was involved in a hit and run with a Jaguar, and the driver of the Jaguar was not injured. And as Anne fled the scene, she almost ran over a pedestrian.
Oh my God.
The third and final crash was caused by Anne driving at a high rate of speed down through a neighborhood. She had crashed into a house, breaking a wall, and getting her vehicle embedded 30 feet into the structure.
So that's the video that we see where it's
yes,
just,
that's the last. Yeah.
there she goes. Just, it was like a blue Mini Cooper that was driving by. I think that was the color.
I didn't look up the video.
Oh, I did. I remember. Yeah.
So she was trapped inside of the vehicle, inside of the wall of the house. And then the car caught fire, which then caught the house on fire.
Oh my God.
The house fire took 65 minutes to fully extinguish. Firefighters were unable to access and fully extricate Anne from the vehicle for 45 minutes after their first arrival on scene, and initially was not aware that any person was inside the vehicle itself.
Oh.
Anne had sustained severe burns and smoke inhalation injuries by the time she was rescued. A tenant of the house had been renting a room in the back and only sustained minor injuries from the whole ordeal.
Fortunately, it just made me flash upon. Do you remember that catastrophic trip to Pismo that we took?
To Pismo?
Yes, we were going to Pismo. We were driving through Buellton. We were going with mom and dad. Stephen was with us. We were going with Jim and Debbie. As we were going over the hills, there was
No, they made me close my eyes.
You didn't. Oh my
Dad
God.
said I was asleep, and Dad said make sure she stays asleep and
You
close her
were
eyes.
conscious for that. That was
It's like a horrific car crash, right?
that is one of them. Like that
No,
is
they
one
made-
of my origin stories.
No, I was asleep, and they said just make sure she keeps her eyes closed.
That was one of the most traumatic experiences of my entire life.
about it because I missed it. I just know it was an
Because
accident.
essentially there was a woman driving on one side of the road. There was a semi coming down the other.
Oh.
She apparently fell asleep at the wheel, collided with this truck. Oh my God. And so we happened to be traveling along the same road.
Yeah.
And so we happened upon the car. I don't don't recall seeing the actual impact happen because Stephen and I were in the backseat with mom and dad. But it was one of those like, okay, we're traveling with a bunch of nurses. Something is wrong. So go see if the guy in the semi is okay. Go check on the woman in the car. Fucking car just like engulfs in flames. So Jim goes to get the fire extinguisher that he had. And if memory serves, it like failed. It didn't work properly. Oh my God. So this woman essentially burned alive in her car.
Barbecue.
And then I think they were able to get the guy in the semi out. I have flashes of this moment in time. Yeah, I think we're going through Buellton is when it happened. Then there was like a traumatic quasi-family thing that happened the night before that does not need to be disclosed here. But it was just this horrific series of events on this camping trip, and it was just this cloud over the whole thing.
No, I have no memory.
Oh my God. Awful. That is one of those foundational like core memories that you just can't shake.
I'm sorry.
I am so glad that you weren't.
I know they wanted to make sure I didn't see it, but how funny is that I go into a profession where that's all I see?
Yeah.
For the past 11 years of my life,
God.
all I've seen is horrific things. Anyway, trauma.
It's okay. That won't be your life for much longer.
Hopefully.
For your sake.
Okay, so she was in the car. Car was on fire. House was on fire. She was eventually rescued. She had some serious injuries.
But she did not perish in said fire.
Police initially stated that Anne was deemed to be under the influence and acting erratically at the time of the crashes. LAPD said that a preliminary blood analysis showed the presence of both cocaine and narcotics.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug. Sorry.
So I've heard. Including fentanyl in her system. However, a more comprehensive analysis that took several months to complete was needed to determine whether the narcotics detected were given by hospital staff or ingested prior to the crash.
Oh, okay.
On December 6, 2022, the LA County Department of Medical Examiner and Coroner's Office announced the results of Anne's final autopsy, stating that she was not impaired by illicit substances at the time of the incident and that no active drugs were found in her system.
She was just having a mental episode, maybe?
Something. The medical examiner did find traces of cocaine, weed, and fentanyl in her system, but stated the cocaine and weed were a tiny amounts, indicating that they had been ingested way prior to the crash.
So it wasn't a contributing factor to that.
And that the fentanyl was given by the hospital staff.
For
treatment.
So it's not like she was actively under the influence and just had this.
It's more of a mental issue.
That makes sense.
As Anne was being removed from the car crash, she was filmed sitting up on a stretcher and struggling with firefighters and EMTs while she was being wheeled into the ambulance, which was also a TMZ video that a lot of people have seen. I've actually seen that one. She lost consciousness soon after, and she was taken to the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center for initial emergency care and was then transferred to Grossman Burn Center at West Hills Hospital for specialized burn center care. On August 8th, a representative for Anne said that she was in a coma in critical condition, requiring medical ventilation for pulmonary injury, so lung, because she had smoke inhalation.
Sure.
And that she had sustained during the injury. So smoke inhalation is probably like the number one thing that'll get you in a fire.
That's my fear.
It's not the burns that you experience on the exterior. It's the burns your esophagus, and it scars everything. It usually gets into your lungs. Now you have smoke particles in your lungs and your esophagus is swelling, usually is what happens. And because it's not an exterior thing, they're so concerned usually on everything else that they forget. That was an episode of Grey's Anatomy. They accidentally killed a mom because they didn't check the fucking throat.
Yeah, well, and that's one of my
fears.
And so Gracie and I had actually had a conversation of what would you do if the house was on fire? What is your instinct? If you were in bed and all
watch it burn.
She probably started the fire. Let's be real. But I'm like, is your first instinct to try to open your door and go out into the hallway and see what's going on?
That's a good point.
Because I'm like, that's when that shit starts to get you because it's unexpected. So her and I had like a fire safety lesson. It's what's the first thing that you're going to touch to leave a room? She's like, the doorknob. I'm like, if it's hot, don't fucking touch it. And then, so I'm like, okay, stuff shit at the bottom of your door.
Yeah.
And that's when we were going over the logistics of
climb out the window.
But she's like, well, how do I do that? I'm like, you get up on your bed, you open it, kick the screen out and just hop over. You on the first floor. You'll be fine. We will come find you. Don't come look for us kind of thing. But I'm like, oh my God, we've never had that conversation before.
That's interesting, yeah.
And then because I watched This Is Us.
Yeah, stop watching that. It's so I want to cry every day. I'll fucking just think of my life. I don't need to watch a show for that.
I love and everyone is
so whiny.
It is. I stopped watching it, but that first season really got me. But the dad perished.
No,
I mean, it was quasi-related.
Yes.
It ended up being heart-related. But I'm like, oh my God, we've never done like fire safety in the house. So now I want to be that crazy person who like wakes her up at 2:00 in the morning.
Well, then you're gonna have to replace the screen.
I need new windows anyway. It's like the original windows that came with the house from the 70s.
Oh, there you go. It's okay. The one time I got to use a fire extinguisher was my first time, and Danny and I were working together in the same car, and we just fucking roll up on a fire. And so he grabs the extinguisher and I'm like, can I do it? I've never done this before. And he goes, sure. So I'm like, yes, it was so fun. And I'm like, all right, here you go. I got to go fucking do something else. So I recorded him for our Instagram that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, oh my God, I forgot to get a picture, a video of you. I'm like, that's fine. So they posted it and they're like, he's the hero. I'm like, wow. And he's like, I am so, to this day, he is so upset. I hope you hear this and feel really bad. He's like, I'm so sorry. I'll take a picture next time.
I have never used a fire extinguisher. Conceptually, I know how to do it. It's like you pull it in and
when you have your fire thing, just get it and do it.
Yeah. So I'm like, conceptually, I know what to do. And I have started a fire or two in the kitchen.
Yes, you have.
Shut up. I have learned not to overreact in those moments. I've also started a fire accidentally igniting something in the oven, but I'm like, you just keep that door shut, let it burn out. It's going to run out of air eventually. But I'm like, myself 15 years ago, my dumbass would be opening it, trying to get it out. So fire safety is important. I encourage you all to have a plan.
There you go. Do you have the fire extinguisher in this house?
We have many in the house.
All right.
Because I am married to a quasi-survivalist who is preparing for the impending Armageddon. So
cool.
Yeah.
So back to Anne.
Poor Anne.
She's now in a coma.
Is it medically induced or just?
It doesn't say. She's just said in a coma. She's in critical condition and she's on a ventilator. On August 11th, the representative said that Anne was not expected to survive an anoxic brain injury, which means her brain went too long without getting oxygen.
Sure.
But she was being kept on life support to determine if her organs were viable for donation because she expressed that she was an organ donor.
I was going to say, once that everything goes, pull the fucking plug.
Yes. Are you not an organ donor?
I am an organ donor, but
you technically have to keep it plugged in for a little bit.
I get that, but
you're already legally brain dead.
Yeah, so just for my family and my loved ones, don't do that to yourself. Put me out of my misery. Yes. But I guess if I have betrothed my insides, they are technically the beneficiary. You know what? I really need to think about that. I do not do the things that I do for the beneficial interest of whoever's going to receive my organs.
They just won't take your liver. It's fine.
Yeah, that will be useless. Or you can do studies on it because, I feel like
I could tell them how much you drink and what you drink.
They don't need to know that. I mean, actually, they do.
For a scientific study, yes, they do.
You might learn something. Maybe I will be responsible for developing some liver immunity drug.
You want to be immune to your liver?
That's not what I mean. Like alcohol immunity drug via my liver cells or something. I am a specimen.
There you go. On October 14th, it was announced that the organ recipients had been found and her body would then undergo the organ donation process that day.
Harvesting the organs.
The Office of the LA County Medical Examiner recorded the cause of death as inhalation and thermal injuries with sternal fracture due to blunt trauma. And it was ruled an accident, ultimately.
Okay.
Anne's cremated remains were set to be entered into a mausoleum at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, which took place on May 14th of 2023.
Oh.
She was 53 years old at the time of her death.
This is just sad.
I know. So now we'll go into the 2 conspiracy theories that are related to her death. So many people, mostly QAnon people, believe that Anne had been murdered for knowing too much because of her upcoming films. Shortly after her death, a tweet appeared, which has since been deleted, that said, quote, so actress Anne Heche, who died in a fiery car crash, was working on a movie titled The Girl in Room 13 about the Jeffrey Epstein ring.
Mm-hmm.
End quote. Many believe that she was murdered to stop her from releasing the movie and to cover up for Epstein. A QAnon influencer, which is a thing, I guess, named Liz Crokin also posted at the time of her death and said that Anne had been working on the HBO show The Idol, which was produced by The Weeknd and is rumored to have been inspired by Britney Spears.
Oh.
Liz Crokin speculated that Anne, who had publicly spoken in support of Johnny Depp during his trial with Amber Heard,
I remember watching that at work,
was killed days after online rumors were swirling that Amber Heard used to throw satanic sex parties in her shared apartment with Johnny Depp.
I do remember hearing about that.
Liz Cronin ended with saying, "What did Anne know?" Both theories have been seriously refuted since the film The Girl in Room 13 was a Lifetime movie that was released in September of 2022. According to IMDb, the film is about sex trafficking in general, and it's about a girl who is Anne's daughter in the film that was held captive in a local hotel room for the purpose of being sold for sex. There is no direct correlation between the movie itself or the film's specifics and anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein.
I mean, the unfortunate reality is that sex trafficking is everywhere. It's not all Epstein related.
That is true. As far as Anne's work on The Idol, the QAnon person was somehow suggesting that Anne had insider knowledge about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp's relationship, as well as the shit going on with Britney Spears. Neither of those topics are any way connected. And in my opinion, and many other people's opinions, they would have nothing to do with her death.
No, I cannot draw any reasonable link between
any of that.
Yeah.
A big reason people think Anne was murdered, disregarding why you think she may have been murdered, was because the video showing her struggling and fighting with the first responders on the stretcher, to them, proved that she was fighting to live. And that it was suspicious that she was alive enough to fight on scene, yet she somehow strangely died 7 days later.
Shock trauma response.
So I don't understand. Yeah, that. So also in the mix of both of these theories, many people think that she was killed specifically by the Illuminati, but that was for the Epstein reasons.
I like Anne Heche. I do not think that she was enough of a presence to warrant that kind of attention.
I think, unfortunately, she was just dealing with some mental demons that got the best of her.
I wholeheartedly agree.
So based on our scale, I would give this cracked rating certifiably cracked.
I'm going to have to agree with you there. It's really sad what happened.
It is.
But like you said, I think it was all self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Not that she had any control over it. I believe that. But I don't think there was anything nefarious happening outside of that.
Agreed.
That's a bummer.
It is. But that was the life and death of Anne Heche.
Shopping mom.
Snow shovels. So, if you want to reach out to us, we can be found on Instagram. You can send us DMs, episode suggestions, feedback, but nice feedback. We post every week. You can send us an email at crackedsistersconspiracies@gmail.com. We would love an email. We have a Twitter or X and a Facebook, but they don't count. And then we have a TikTok that we're working on. We have, what are we at?
We do. I just refreshed. So it's been 45 minutes or so from the last check-in. We're up to 356 views, 34 likes.
We're going to be famous.
Oh my God.
While the getting's good.
And it's just a snippet of Jackie's mouse in the house.
Which is also uploaded on Patreon. Speaking of which, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/crackedsistersconspiracies. You can donate $1, $3, or $5. No matter what you donate, you get to see all the videos of us. And then you will have links, like I mentioned earlier, to watching basically the unedited version of all these videos. You get to see us in person and all of our fuck ups that we edit out in the podcast. So yeah, that's it.
Well, with that, stay cracked, y'all.
And have a great day.